Welcome to Business Mastery with Dawn Kennedy, your quick under 45-minute dose of expert insights and strategies to make a positive impact on your business and life. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Business Mastery Podcast. So data, we get it from everywhere now, and we should be making decisions based on the data, but it can be very overwhelming to collect all the pieces and interpret them. So I brought someone on here who built a framework and can talk to us about streamlining that data collection, reduction, and then making decisions from the data. So Scott, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk everything data. You know, that's my whole day, every day. My number one passion is solving puzzles with data. So
Incredible. All right. I love it. So can you tell everyone who you are and who you serve?
sure, I'm Scott Desgrosseilliers, founder and CEO of Wicked Reports. We provide a marketing attribution platform that specializes in e-commerce brands and digital agencies with annual revenue of 5 million to 50 million. So we certainly have some that are smaller and we certainly have some that are bigger, but that's like our sweet spot, if you will.
All right. Amazing. So data, making decisions from data. Before we dive in, there are so many platforms that are independent of each other. Like Meta has their platform, I think, for Facebook and YouTube, or not YouTube, Facebook and Instagram. And then YouTube has a platform. And nowadays, people publish to multiple platforms. LinkedIn has its own analytics, all of these things. But the data right now has to be basically sourced from each individual platform, and you've discovered a way to kind of get it so that it could all be brought into one place.
Yeah, I mean, at a start, you want to try to make the data collection on autopilot with some sort of dashboard tool, because that alone can, sap your will to live. Just trying to pull all the data in everywhere, and there are a number of inexpensive dashboard tools that have pre-built connectors that can pipe it all into the same place. So yeah, at a get-go, you shouldn't be collecting data on your having to go system by system. If you just have 2 or 3 systems, perhaps you can go look. But once you spread beyond that, I mean, everyone has a CRM that will have data, and then if you've got 2 ad platforms, there's some sophistication there. So yeah, the data collection is at least something. Automate that piece first because that's time savings and little value because you don't need to do it.
Right, right. Yeah. And, again, that you were saying that the online sales as well, because you're going to get your data from your e-commerce platform. How many people hit your website, right? How many people put things in carts? All of that data also can come in as well, correct? You can see your top sellers.
Yeah, so you can pull all that in, and then the trick is how you get the right focus because you've got that flood of numbers. It's almost like the Matrix scene from the movie. We got all the numbers flying around. You got a lot of data, conflicting data, and then the job becomes how do what's the data trying to tell me? What's the most important thing I should do based on all these numbers?
Right. All right. So when you do a hierarchy of the data that you're looking for generally for most of your clients, what do you start with? What is the most important? Is it conversion is the most important? Is it reach? Is it engagement? Because I think sometimes people look at the numbers and they don't necessarily understand how it correlates to the cash that comes in a business.
Yes. You gotta correlate it to cash. So what you should how you're gonna measure and score it and what's most important is dependent on what was your intention of the marketing to begin with.
Okay.
Ideally, I mean, all marketing, the whole eventual point is to make more revenue, but there's different stages and different purposes of each, and that determines what your North Star metric is for that particular campaign. As an example, you might have some ads running to top of the funnel, meaning you're trying to get new prospects in the door to become aware of you. So that is measured a certain way, and that is a North Star of, that could be your return on ad spend from a first click perspective, meaning I'm going to measure the scoreboard's just going to be look at the things that got them aware of me and then track did they later turn into revenue. Whereas more when you're doing a bottom of the funnel approach, where you believe they should be ready to buy, and like you're sending an email out, then it's the conversion rate of that email. How well did it actually convert people to buy? Because that was the point of that email. It was a very that's the only point of that email if it's the bottom of the funnel. Um, and then with reach and impressions, those are like if you're doing more branding and like you're like a B2B, like so we're B2B. If we have something new we want to promote, the number of impressions a week across all the platforms matter. And then we correlate impressions to pipeline built or generated. And so if our impressions go up, but our pipeline generated doesn't go up, then like, okay, we're making more awareness, but we don't have anything that's in the middle moving them towards becoming pipeline. Pipeline for us meaning they booked a sales call. And so then that would be we see impressions up and then pipeline hasn't gone up and like, okay, the work is in the middle of the funnel, which is the product marketing or what have you to get them into the pipeline.
Okay. So each one of these pieces of content or into the campaign are looked at individually. I know that for many business owners, they just want to have that bottom information. They just want to know, how many people did we reach and how many sales did we make? But you're saying that if you collect the data on each piece of content, you actually could figure out sort of where people are dropping off.
Yeah, you can create you can reverse engineer the customer journey. And what you'll find is that there's only a few things that really, lots of times, and I'm guilty of this as well as someone that dabbles in our marketing, you got a flurry of activity and production. You just think it's activity. But really, you can just ride one really good asset a long ways in a particular piece of your funnel. Like one great lead magnet can solve a lot of problems. And then you're like, okay, I got this great lead magnet, and now I can move on to how am I converting these leads better. Whereas sometimes calling myself out, I'll chug a ton of content out and throw it at our marketing team, and they'll furiously pump it out there, but the results might be so-so because it's like not strategic enough or it's not focused on the real
Right.
where do we really need to move the needle? Because like we have, as an example, we have a ton of impressions. We have decent pipeline, but it could be better given the impressions. So now our work is on middle of the funnel. That's why I spoke to that because that's like we're living that one ourselves as marketing data people. We still make marketing mistakes.
Sure, it's all trial and error. So, when you fix the one thing and you put it out there for a little bit, right? So sometimes the return may not be immediate. And actually let's just kind of segue that a little
Mhm.
bit. How long do you leave things out there and collect data on them before you make a decision? Is there something that a company should basically put in place and say, we're going to be out there for X amount of time, or if we don't see something within this period of time, and I know it's gonna be dependent on the business, but just generally, what are your thoughts on.
Conversion lag is a massive thing. Delayed value from ads or from marketing, it's not always the case, but it's often well, here's an example. We're doing a case study with Pinterest and with a couple of our brands, and this one advertiser that's doing extremely well on Pinterest, they actually make what they make when they spend in a quarter, the revenue they make, they actually double it in the next quarter on the clicks from that quarter. Like they actually double. So if let's just say 100 people clicked on an ad in Q1 of 2025 and 5 bought, there's actually numbers are a lot bigger for them though. Then in Q2, 5 more from those 100 clicks, 5 more people bought. So there's like this compound effect and lag that occurs. And their average time from the first touch to a sale on Pinterest is 62 days. So that's not like exciting for people to hear, but this brand has actually embraced LTV to top of the funnel. Plus, do really well with their quick sale stuff as well, so they can afford to do that. And they make a lot of money on Pinterest as well, or it could be another channel as well. This happened to be top of mind. But that delay is real, and you can measure it on your own if you this might be a little too technical, maybe not. I'll try it out here. You can let me know. But you can basically download if you have all your sales by email address and the first time they bought, you pull out of your Stripe or wherever you're doing them, and then you pull from your CRM those same emails and when they first were entered into the CRM, you can do math and see the difference, the time lag from when they appeared in the CRM and when they appeared in the shopping in the sales the
Right.
first time. And then you gotta extrapolate, which you can just add on more time. How long until they decided to show up in your CRM? Because they no one nowadays, people don't just, "Oh, yeah, sure, here's my email." So we
Right.
get besieged by retargeting and emails and SMS. Like, that's a big conversion signal, even though that's not revenue and it's not exciting enough as a marketer. It's a big conversion to get is like, "Hey, I'm willing to, like, listen to you, hear from you." So that's how you can get your own idea on conversion lag is look at that. And then it'll be eye-opening that, if you have a good feel for the market and you got a good lead magnet and you see good engagement, but you're not seeing revenue, it might just be that you need that lag that already exists in your customer consideration and conversion cycle.
Right. I think that's so important. And just for the audience, LTV, lifetime value.
Mhm.
Okay. And then CTA is cost to acquire.
Yep.
Okay.
CPA, cost per action,
Oh, cost per action.
CPR conversion. We're big on acronyms and data
Okay.
because
Yeah. I
everything's
just
like 30 letters.
right, right. I just want to make sure we're clear for the audience and also
Good.
for
Thank you.
myself. Yeah.
Again,
Okay.
jargon here. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. We all do it. We're all business owners. We all end up there. Okay. So let's talk about how you set these things up. Because if you find I guess a sticky point, like you were saying, sort of after impressions and trying to move down the funnel, do you reverse engineer? Do you start from the product sale and work backwards on your marketing? Or do you work marketing from the top and getting people in your world and then do the sales result, I guess, at the bottom? As you're looking through these things, because I don't know that it's consistent to any particular industry, whether you would backward plan it or you would forward plan it, or if it happens by the time of the year, right? Black Friday is coming up. And I do also want to make sure we address that lag time, that lead time that it takes for regular sales may change. And so the data in quarter four might look different.
So, specific to Black Friday. So, the first question: if you have the data from sales going back, you want to analyze it both ways. From the sales where you
Okay.
have the data going back, maybe your CRM has some good journey stuff in there. You can start there. It generally won't have enough ad visibility, but it will. You want to look at your best clients, like your best 20%. Top 20% of your clients, what did you do to get them that you can stitch together? It could be just from I'm only running 2 campaigns, it has to be those 2 or whatever you have going back is a good starter. But then whenever you've launched, you've got to ask yourself, what was my intention and how should I measure it? Because top of the funnel stuff like first clicks that turn to sales, or it could be I'm going for impressions just to get awareness. Then you'll want to campaign specifically on lead gens. Well, what is your cost per lead? And then how well are you converting them? And then your middle funnel stuff, if you've got a booked call practice, like a business coach or a high ticket offer, how am I doing at generating meetings for that and how many are converting? So it's breaking it down into like not micro, but per campaign strategy works because generally we're launching them for different reasons. You don't want to launch multiple campaigns for the same reason on the same platform because they're going to compete against each other with the budget and the bidding. So
Okay.
sometimes
So,
people have like 15 campaigns going. I'm like
yeah.
$100 each. And I'm like, that's just not wise. You're bidding against yourself in some cases.
Okay, so let's back that up because I do know that there are companies that will say, well, this is a different demographic. It's the same product, but it's for a different reason that we're going to launch it. Would that be a reason to have two at the same time or
That would be, yes. As long
that
as you
would be?
now in that case, is this normally probably Facebook Meta advertising?
I would say a lot of it is. Yeah.
So in that case, you have to make sure that your because everyone likes to use the AI bidding. The AI bidding works really well for bottom of the funnel, like I'm just trying to sell this stuff immediately.
Okay.
Because the AI wants more conversions faster, that's how it learns quicker. On the flip side, if you're not careful and you're running those 2 different let's just say you're running women 40 to 50 and women 30 to 40 and just using a different hook because like it sells better. But if you have the AI audiences turned on, which is by default what happens, they will ignore what you've prescribed and also try to find faster conversions. And what could happen then, let's just say the 30-year-olds are buying your stuff better than the 45-year-olds or whatever. The AI will see this and then start targeting the 30-year-olds in your 40 and 51 because it says, oh, you told me to expand and find where I can sell more stuff faster, and it's down here. And it may or may not be. And then all of a sudden, you're not actually running the test you want. You're not actually targeting as you want. You got to be careful. Now, if you're getting a ton and ton of sales and you're making oodles of money, then who cares? Just let it go.
Right,
But
right,
often it'll be more of a grind, and then that stuff matters.
right, right. Okay, so by default, if you use AI, it will look to convert because that's how it works. I think this is the first time I've ever really heard that. So having these multiple campaigns and the A/B tests and all the things that used to happen a few years ago actually could be bidding against you or working against you more today.
You gotta be careful, like, so I did a study on our site, we studied over 55,000 AI campaigns, that's why I know this. I
Yeah.
didn't look at each one, I got the aggregate from the data team and, messed around with it as a data person, and the cost to acquire a new customer was 4 times the cost to acquire an existing reacquire an existing, and then when we looked at the AI, because we have measures on new versus repeat customers, we segment it, and then was the visitor new or not, we find that a lot of times people would be like, I'm trying to buy new customers here. I've excluded my existing customers, which exclusions aren't perfect. Facebook actually can't map all of them. They can map a lot of them. And people were getting a lot of repeat customers coming in, or it was claiming sales on repeat that were happening on email. And lo and behold, it was that the AI was just trying to be helpful and it wasn't being so helpful according to the intention of the particular campaign. So you gotta watch for that if your goal is new customers. If your goal is I don't care, I'll sell whatever to whoever, then the AI can work fantastic. You don't have to worry so much about those settings.
But I mean, this is a kind of a good thing to know that some people may be lighting some of their marketing dollars on fire accidentally because they're trying to do marketing and ads the way it was even a year ago. This is
Yes.
fairly new is what I understand that
Yeah,
you
this
can't.
a the auto settings of the AI are new because what you gotta understand, 'cause I go to some of these, we were partners with some of these, so we go to some of these events, partner only, and they'll have, like, Yeti mugs up on stage, and then sometimes the data's trained on these household name brands that are just like, "I wanna sell more stuff," whatever, and the massive volume, and then the platform can work ridiculously good for that. Not to say it can't work good for small business, you just gotta be more careful with your dollars. Like, if your goal is, "I wanna find new customers for my paid advertising," which is usually the case, you gotta take a little more care in the settings because 'cause you're like, "I'm giving this budget, I don't wanna pay for customers I already know I'm gonna reacquire on my own, most likely, I wanna pay for new." And so that's where
Right,
it devils in the details. It's not super difficult details, but it's like, you wouldn't know until you know, I just
right,
happened to look at 55,000 campaigns, so I know.
right. Wow. All right. So from aggregating all of the data, each individual campaign, checking your stuff either front to back or back to front based on your CRM and all the data that you have. Where do you find people get stuck in making decisions? Is it when the data is really close, or is it when maybe they have to pivot because the data is not returning? So, data driven decisions don't necessarily have an on off switch, right? Like there's tweaks involved in things. Where do people tend to get stuck in making decisions with the data?
So what I found, I ended up creating a framework around this that we trained our AI on to help fix, but is that you wanna know your goal as a range before you launch the campaign, whatever your target metric is.
Okay.
And you want to set a range that I call the chill zone, which means if the number's in this range, I'm going to chill out and not touch anything. And if the number's above it, I'm going to scale. And if the number's below it, or vice versa, if it's cost, if it's below it, is kill, means I have to diagnose and improve something because it's here. It's kind of like, let's take the example. I want new customers for Meta. So let's say that I can let's say my goal is $50 a customer. You actually instead of just you don't want to set a $50 as the goal because what happens is you're not going to hit that number. You're going to be below it or above it by some gyration. And then it's going to always be then you're going to have to like think, "Oh, It's 55. Is that bad? What's the trend? Then you got to go think and look, and then you just wasted 20 minutes and you're fretting over something. You set a range, let's just say 45 to 55. And that means, hey, I'm going to measure this weekly or monthly. There's a whole process to that. But as long as my new customer acquisition cost is between 45 and 55, I'm going to chill. If it's below 45, I'm gonna scale. That's great news. Not too much to do there. Just add more money. And if it's above 55, it means I got to diagnose and improve it. And that's when you dive into, am I getting the right traffic? Is the creative working right? Or is the budget spending right? It's almost always one of those three things. It could also be maybe the part of the offer, it could be the product you're offering, but there's usually only a couple categories. So we try to categorize how we diagnose it so that you're not just like swimming in data. It's like, look at these numbers, and if it's a problem with these, it's a traffic issue. Like if I want new customers and I'm getting repeat, the problem is I'm targeting something's whack with my targeting.
Right.
If the conversion rate's low, it's the offer. Is it the product? Is it the price point? Or is it the budget? Am I offering a product, the AOV is low versus the cost to acquire versus I'd done on my forecasting with a higher product value. So we try to narrow down because there's like, I mean, we have hundreds of data points and we have trends on them all, different ways to measure them. It's like literally hundreds. So like, don't look at all of them. Just look at it because you're in the kill zone. Then these certain key metrics determine the area. Then you go do the work to fix.
Got it. All right. So where do you get these ranges if you haven't done a lot of this before and you're going to now not necessarily throw spaghetti at the wall? Sometimes we all do. Where do you get the ranges? Is this something that is just the industry standard? Is it the time of year like Black Friday, right?
No.
So
Yeah,
Where
that's a
where do
great
we get
question.
a realistic range from if we don't normally I know businesses that do very, very well, and they turn up the ad spend only in quarter 4. Um, for obvious reasons. Some of it is because advertising on its own becomes more expensive then, and so maybe they're not doing as, more volume, it's just each one's more money. But, you know, if I have a realistic range, I think this would work great, but what if I don't know where to start?
If you don't know where to start, let's take new customer acquisition cost. Your boundary of where you're going to then say, uh-oh, trouble, put it at break even. Now, obviously, you want to do better than break even,
Sure.
but you know that all things being equal, if it's in your chill zone, you've made something.
Yeah.
That's where you put the boundary in absence of doing a lot of math, crazy math and whatnot. And then the point from scale, from where you go out of the chill zone to scale just is almost, I mean, I have formulas, but really it's more emotional. Where would you be like, "Oh, man, I have to spend more. I'm doing so well here." It's really more like you gotta test yourself. Like, let's say 50 was my break even to acquire a customer, and then I say, "Okay, 40 is my, at anything below 40, I'm gonna raise the budget." Then you gotta be willing to actually do that, which isn't always the case. And it helps to have a check and balance to have someone else where you've committed to this range. But otherwise, I'd say whatever your, profit goal is, maybe 20% might be realistic, 25, so 50, and then 25% of that goes down, and then below that is scale, would be a ballpark thing to do.
Alright, so we have a place to start then, that's phenomenal. Alright, so let's talk again about Black Friday. Like, let's just talk about quarter 4. Um, the consumer trends for the quarters and stuff, you can start gathering that data. Usually, I think the National Retail Foundation starts putting that out, I don't know, in like June or July, where it says, this is what we expect people to spend. And, this is the gifts that we expect people to do, the launches that maybe the big companies or the big box stores are doing. So as a littler company, right? Not the Walmarts and the Amazons of the world, but as a smaller company, what do we need to do? And how do we need to be thinking about what this fourth quarter is going to look like? And are those numbers in fourth quarter something we can rely on when we're working the other 3 quarters of the year?
Well, yeah, I mean, across everyone, they all get big lifts in Q4, no doubt. But the effect of it is past Black Friday, so it's all the way through the end of the year. There's just higher revenue, I mean, because of the holidays.
Right.
So with people that, if people that are, I mean, everyone's budget sensitive, but one nice move I've seen is spending a lot pre-Black Friday, Cyber Monday to really build your email and SMS list, because the most conversions happen email and SMS. They certainly happen on ads as well, but people are besieged with ads on social, and they're getting but they know everyone's trained now to, abandon cart and see what discount they're gonna get. But everyone knows that you're gonna get email and SMS deals, so they expect them. So if you spend before it gets super expensive building lists, you can really you can hit that list 2, 3, 4 times on Black Friday, Cyber Monday because 'cause they're expecting and not upset with getting crushed with these, like, deals on that medium. So that's my biggest tip I've had that works the best and saves the most money, because it's just super expensive. People don't always make a lot of money on Black Friday. They make revenue, but profitable revenue is debatable because the platforms are very good at taking credit for each other's success. Because like, if you're scrolling through Instagram all day and see, like, 15 ads, then you buy off the email, they'll take the credit in their
Okay.
platform.
Oh, I didn't know
Well,
that.
they do one-day view. So particularly Black Friday, Cyber Monday, there's a lot of purchases happening, and there's a lot of online activity, and so the platforms are mining that and saying, "Oh, look, I showed you an ad there. I want credit." So you gotta be careful of that one. The view through credit, it's called. Sometimes they're very accurate, like if it's a compelling video that made you buy, but if you're not running compelling video that normally converts sales, and then suddenly you see this big spike, Black Friday, if you check, it's probably related to the timing of your emails and SMSs.
Interesting. All right. So let's talk about training our customers because this was a great point. I didn't think about that. Um, so people will put things in the cart, abandon cart, because they know or expect that they're going to get a discount. Is that how this is? I don't know a whole lot of smaller businesses that necessarily do that.
Abandoned cart recovery?
Well, so abandoned cart recovery for us inside our coffee company, it just says, "Hey, it looks like you left something here. We don't offer any discounts or do anything." Um, we do a lot of in-store sort of bonuses and ads for things, but um, people are expecting that. That is interesting to think about. What percentage of the time do you think people abandon carts because they're expecting that email?
I'd be guessing. I just know it happens a lot because I see a lot of e-commerce stores that have the flow set up in their Klaviyo. They have it set up. I mean, we work with a lot of CRMs, but Klaviyo in particular, they've already
Right.
got those flows kind of easy to enable, and they'll wait, and, like, one of the emails will be like, "Alright, here's another 10%."
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and do you see the conversion on that 2nd or 3rd or 5th email with the discounts?
Yeah. Well,
Really?
the abandoned cart or retargeting abandoned carts are usually the highest converting things, because there's already such high intent. They're in there and they had something added to the cart. Could be a lot of things, agonizing over the price, it could be all kinds of factors. I mean, tough to predict which one it is, but so that's why you gotta be careful, when you're a business hiring a media buyer, you want them to set up those bottom of the funnel things, but they need to be able to fill the funnel with good top of the funnel traffic. That's harder to do and more important, because and then the platforms don't measure it as well because they're more geared towards bottom of the funnel. They do help with top of the funnel quite well, but their measurement is geared towards bottom of the funnel and showing return on ad spend on the last thing that happened at the end of
Right.
the 4 to 20 touch journey.
Right, yeah, so let's talk about that as well. With everything else since, I guess, pandemic, the online space has exploded. Um, it used to be, I think back in 2019, the statistic I heard was like people need to see something 6 to 8 times before they'll make a decision. And then I want to say in the pandemic or right after the pandemic, it was like people need to see things like 15 to 25 times now because it's so inundated. So in 2025 now, from your perspective, what do you see as the number of times people need to see something or be engaged or be retargeted before they'll take action?
So in our Wick Reports platform, like we'll attribute sales to marketing, and it's always different than the platform. So people are paying for us to have different measure, but then they're be like, well, it's different. Why should I trust you?
Right.
Well, guess what? You can click on the sales and we'll show you who they are because it's your data.
Yeah.
And so we'll show the data of the sales, and then you can click on the sale and you can see the whole stream of things they did. I should run an analysis on that. We haven't, like with 55,000 campaigns, we were running for a specific thing to see average touch points. That's because everyone I've been clicking on to build a few case studies recently have been like the scroll bars like this. So just
Okay.
anecdotally, just the last like 20 I've clicked on is at least a dozen minimum, probably more than that. It's like a big scroll of touch points and they're multi-platform almost always. I mean, I rarely see someone just I guess if you're only advertising on one platform, then you'd only see one platform, but our advertising
Right.
usually have 3 or 4, and we also do organic, and usually it's a plethora of things, which is
Okay.
unfortunate because as a marketer, you just wanna focus on one channel or one thing, but usually, like, they're interacting all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
so
I mean,
I don't have the firm that would've been a good thing to that's a good thing to study actually, but I just know it's a lot, unfortunately, very unscientific.
that's okay though, but this is great information for business owners to hear because we've been encouraged, right? So you put a video on YouTube and you make 3 or 4 shorts, and then you put something on TikTok, and then you put something on Facebook, or you put it on Instagram, or magic, you can click a thing and it says end post to Instagram, right? So you don't actually open the app, it just gets sent there by magic, by Meta, and it gets posted there. So this is actually, I think, a really good conversation that if you are seeing what these companies doing 5 to 50 and you have 55,000 accounts in these things, and a lot of them are showing multiple touch points across multiple
Mm.
platforms, this as a business owner tells me, well, maybe I should do more than just Facebook ads, right? Or maybe we should start that TikTok account, or maybe we should
Uh
have that YouTube account.
You should start where you're start in my opinion,
Where your clients.
seeing some grow where they are, start with
Right.
one channel and try and figure it out. Because 'Cause we've seen a fair amount of people nail one channel and get quite large, meaning, going from nothing to 5 to 10 to 20,000,000. Not
Okay.
it doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen, like, consistently because they only did that. They have a lot of things going for them, but you can nail one channel and make a lot of money instead of frantically going to all the different channels.
Okay. So
Because that's a lot of work, right? And you do a lot of work and you got like 20 views and like 2 likes. You're like, oh, this is a pain in the ass.
right.
It's a hassle.
Right.
So, I mean, like if you're B2B, LinkedIn, you got to kind of hang on, unless you're like really good at one channel. Like, here's an example. I have a guy trying to get me to pay him for memes, which I might do. The company charges 3 grand a month for memes. And I was like, Jesus, that seems like a lot of money for memes. But they worked with this other B2B company that does like, this gory technical stuff, and they got them like 1,000,000 followers, and they're getting a demo a day. But it took them 2 years of
Mhm.
posting memes, and they're good at memes. So the memes are really good. It's not just like retweeting or posting someone else's or whatever. Like that's what they do. But
Right.
but they take the pain points of the customers and do the memes around the pain points just methodically and consistently. And this other company committed to, okay, we're just gonna do this on Instagram or as LinkedIn, one or the other all the time, and then that's gonna be our social. And it worked, but they had a strategy behind it. And, but that being said, I wouldn't have thought that memes for B2B would work. My point being though is like they specialized on one channel and they were good at something and they knew their buyers were there and it panned out.
Yeah. But like you said, it took about 2 years. So I think people listening to this discussion on this podcast could also kind of feel heartened that it's like, okay, it could be a bunch of touch points.
Overnight
They could be
successes.
coming from different things, and there are no, yeah, this is like this reiteration of the overnight success that took 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
That is real. There's no, 5-step hack to building 1,000,000 followers on Instagram or whatever, just by doing these 3 easy things. I think that this is a really good uh kind of reiteration that all of these things and setting them up and like you said, testing, tweaking at different parts of the funnel, um, to get those good results, you have to have a little bit of patience.
Mhm.
Pretty
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, but so I mean, just because the amount of effort it takes, like, if it's very simple for you to take it, let's just say you're doing a YouTube strategy, the video and then the shorts. That could work out really well potentially. But if you've already got the videos and it's very easy to then post them on the other channels, it's gonna take you like 5, 10 minutes. Yeah, go ahead and do it. Maybe they catch fire. But a lot of people do all that activity and it doesn't always pan out. So
Right.
it can though, but I don't know. I'm torn because on the one hand, the data. I mean, I see all these people take a ton of impressions sometimes to sell, and then more places you're at, you're gonna get more impressions potentially. But time is so valuable, and it's better just to like nail one channel message. You get a lot of business from one channel, like 7 figures, eight
Yeah.
figures.
Right. Right. And we're not even talking about monetized channels. We're just talking about or sales that come from the managing the ad spend correctly. All right. So my last question really going back to the Black Friday. Once you have that Black Friday data and you sit down and you have a look at it or you look at the whole quarter four, how reliable is that for strategy in the next couple of quarters? Especially like you said, you have a Pinterest client that could be average to a
Mhm.
sale is 62 days, right? So what do we do? Because the data is going to be a snapshot in time. It's what happened then. It's archival. It's a past thing. Even in real time, it's a past thing. It had to happen. The event had to occur. What can we do with that data to make decisions on what we do in the future?
Well, I was just put my glasses on because I wanted to see something. So we did a study for our Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Now I gotta find where your your Zoom. Hold on. So we did I did a study for from Black Friday, Cyber Monday through the end of the year. Look at all those clicks and see how much money was made off them in Q1, and it was 10% more money was made in Q1 from all the clicks. So there's a lag effect, but a positive effect from the Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Doesn't mean take your foot completely off the gas because like everyone's spent maybe the first week or two. I don't know, but there's a lot of residual revenue that occurs in Q1. So it's not like wasted effort. um, the only tricky thing is if you train them on these deep discounts, sometimes it's hard to get people to
Yeah.
pay retail. It's almost better to have a retail, but then add gifts or something, so they're getting a discount that way.
Yeah.
Because if you train them on discounts, not always, but often, then they're used to paying that price. They've been anchored at that price. I'd say, "Oh, I'm not gonna pay $100. I paid $50 for this. I'm not paying $100 now in February."
Right. Right. No, yeah, 100%. There's a lot of conversation. This is why the abandoned cart getting multiple discount coupons and people waiting to the last or the best discount to buy. You are training your customers that way. So yeah, bonuses, bundling. I think those are usually better strategies for some of the small businesses who can't afford those big loss leaders.
Mhm.
'Cause, those deep discounts on a loss leader, if you know they're going to come back later, if you're going to get ketchup at the store for 49 cents, you're going to buy the buns and the burgers. But for small businesses, I think that's just a little bit more challenging to do that sort of strategy. So you're saying that if you line up your campaign, you do it correctly, and you fix all the things in between, and it starts running, you're in that zone. That zone can carry for a couple of months, even
Yeah.
after the holidays. That's amazing.
Yes. Yeah, because the lag of results, like the people that you gotta keep marketing and keep staying in front of them, but yeah, I was shocked that the revenue was as good as it was. There wasn't this plummeting
Yeah,
of the revenue. I think, yeah, I mean, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah,
fantastic.
crazy. Yeah.
Well, where can
And like
people huh?
but yeah, I was just looking at, wow.
Yeah, I mean,
Unbelievable.
that's huge. That's completely
Yeah.
huge. So where can people find you, learn about you, your business, maybe
Sure. I got 3 spots. So wickedreports.com if you're an e-commerce brand or a digital marketing agency in the 7 or 8 figure range. 5forces.com has a whole measurement methodology course if you're the one that likes to learn and take courses. And then I'm on LinkedIn, Wicked Reports. Scott usually pulls me up.
All right. Amazing. So we're going to put all that down inside the show notes, and we're going to put it in the description. Whether you find us on the day this launches or 2 years later, you'll be able to find Scott. And I really appreciate this conversation. It can be so hard sometimes to look at everything, pull it all together, and figure out where to make decisions. And I think your tips and strategies, like your break even and then a little above, a little below, I think that's going to be very helpful to a lot of business owners who are going to maybe be looking at the data a little bit differently. And hopefully they're going to be able to be more profitable in their marketing campaign. So I appreciate your conversation and your tips.
Great. Thanks, Don. It was great questions. It was easy to talk about it.
Amazing. I appreciate you so much. All right. We'll talk to y'all next time on the next episode of the Business Mastery Podcast. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Business Mastery Podcast. If you want to learn more about me, you can go to DawnKKennedy.com, and you can now check us out on YouTube, as well as, of course, any of your favorite platforms that host podcasts. Take care.